Well, a very good afternoon to you, and welcome to this little video. Today we've got the SX900, the baby Genos Mark 1. Obviously, I wonder what Yamaha are going to come out with next to possibly replace the SX900, who knows. But for the time being, this is still baby Genos, as everybody refers to it. And I just wanted to sort of have a run through, really, and show you some of the things that the SX900 has and lacks compared to a Genos. Because at this point in time, with the Genos 2 coming out very, very soon, in fact this Wednesday I believe, the big reveal will be made, and then the price for Genos will drop like a ton of bricks. So your keyboard that you've got at the moment, if you're going to trade it in, you will get a fixed price for it. However, maybe you want to sell it online and sell it independently and get a little bit more. But for those of you who are looking to buy or to upgrade your keyboard at the moment, there's never been a better time to look, because you're going to have this option of going for an SX900 or getting yourself a bargain with a second-hand Genos. Because at the moment they're all over the place. I've seen them on eBay for as little as 1,700, and the averages seems to be about 2,200, 2,300. Some greedy dealers are selling them still at 3,500. Just that's too much. The price you should be paying for a second-hand Genos, I would estimate, should be about 2,223. That's what the price is going to become. So we have this quandary: do we buy an SX900 new, or do we look at getting a second-hand Genos? Well, it's really quite a difficult one, because they are, even though this is classed as the baby Genos, it still is a very different keyboard for a very different person. First off, look at these. We've got two wonderfully powerful, great big speakers on this instrument. So it makes it easy to pick up, take out, play if you're playing for dancing or for care home or even for a party. This keyboard will give you everything in a box. You just pick it up and off you go. With the Genos, not so. Because with the Genos, you need to carry around those satellite speakers or bigger. The speakers on the Genos I've never ever subscribed to, because the sound quality is pitiful. Okay, them little monitors, but they aren't worth the money. The best speakers you can buy, and I've said this from day dot and I've stuck with them, is the Yamaha HS series of speakers. They do a HS5, HS7 and HS8. 8s will give you the best sound quality that you will ever get from any other speaker for that price point. I demoed a very expensive pair of $5,000 speakers, studio monitors, and listened to them, and yeah, don't get me wrong, they were worth the money, but that was for the use in a studio. But for taking out or maybe having at home, the Yamaha HS series are the best speakers you will get for your money, definitely, by far. They're lovely, they're really nice, they've got a warm sound, they're big, they've got the brightness to sort of cut through as well. I can't give them a big enough thumbs up. So yeah, double thumbs up for the HS series of speakers. So this keyboard has built-in speakers. It does, yay! So it's a home entertainment package that's small. It's 61 notes, so it isn't the 76 sort of length that the Genos is. And the added bonus with the keyboard as well is the fact that for the weight, it's really very, very portable. I mean, the Genos is not far, I don't think it's actually far weight-wise from this, but this is your complete travel package. So maybe you want to stick it in a caravan or take it on holiday. Who's going to take a keyboard on? What am I talking about? You know what I mean. If you want to take it sort of to a friend's house and have an evening of fun and merriment, then this keyboard is definitely what you should be packing in your bag. So, comparisons to other keyboards, there isn't. It truly isn't. It's got everything from multi-pads to your OTS to it's got 8 registration buttons, unlike the Genos, which has 10. But what the hell? I mean, 2 buttons aren't. I don't understand why they added another 2 to the Genos, because it really didn't need them. But that's just, it's splitting hairs, isn't it? I suppose it fills the space on the panel. The styles, there's newer styles in the SX900 because, of course, it came after the Genos. So you have got some really nice styles that have appeared for Genos. You can download them, and the Yamaha have released them, but they came out in this keyboard beforehand, so you've really not got to sort of start loading too much into it. You can add expansion memory samples to it, so you can add voices. It's just an absolutely belting instrument, and even now, sort of carrying on from, I can't remember what year this was actually launched. I should know, but it's been out a while, but it's still, in my view, the best keyboard in its category by absolute miles. I mean, the Korg PA1000, I don't know what Korg are doing, but it really does need an update. It sounds old, it works old, it looks old, the menu system looks old. And then I've got the Medelli in the corner over here, which is supposedly a competitor. Oh my God, it's nothing. The only thing it competes against is the doorstop. It's the most horrendous sounding instrument I've come across. So that doesn't even compete. I mean, please, whatever you do, I would not recommend you go and look at a Medelli thinking, oh, it's only £600 because this is 1,600. You get what you pay for. You really do. I mean, it's like buying a bag of Tesco's value cornflakes compared to Kellogg's. It's not anywhere the same, you know. In fact, I wouldn't even go that close. But anyway, so in this price point, really, there isn't a lot of competition. Catron don't make anything at this sort of level. Yamaha have kind of got the market on their own. They really have, because it's got touchscreen, it's bright, it's clear, it's crystal clear. You can output video from the back. I mean, this is another thing. You can output video from the back of this keyboard, as you can see here. Look, watch. Ta-da! There we go. And if I wanted to display song lyrics on a monitor, I can do. I can connect the keyboard to a monitor, and I can do karaoke night with an SX900. No problems whatsoever. The style section is just first class. And my experience of playing iffy keyboards is for want of a word, really hasn't ever existed. But recently a keyboard came along that you start thinking, is this going to work? Is when I add another voice, is it going to actually come on, or is it going to just sit there and do This thing is built like a brick. It is absolutely solidly made. It works like a dream. There ain't nothing to touch it. The simple question you've got to ask yourself at this stage is now, which one do I get? Do I get the SX900, or do I get the Genos, or have I won the lottery and do I treat myself to get a Genos too? Because really the keyboard market has come to the stage now where Yamaha own it. There is no real other competition that really cuts through. It certainly doesn't compare. I mean, things like multipads, top of the range other keyboard doesn't even have them. This is an SX900, which was the baby Genos. This has multipads. You can trigger audio files from it. It will record wave. It will record MIDI files. It's just a very comprehensive, well thought out keyboard, and I think well thought out is Yamaha's absolute key to their product development, because everything is so well thought out. Anyway, don't take my word for it, because I could ramble on for days. Must excuse me, I've just had lunch and it's sort of not going too well. But anyway, I don't want to tell you what I had for dinner, but I do want to tell you how good this keyboard is, because it really is fabulous. Now, I have had a message from somebody who asked, there's 2 ports on the back and they both say foot switch. Does that mean I can have an expression pedal plugged in? Well, the simple answer is yes, you can. You can actually assign what those 2 foot switches activate. So let me just show you on the screen. If I switch to the screen here, and if I press the direct access button on the main panel of the keyboard and then wiggle my expression pedal, it just jumps straight to this. And you can say, right, okay, I want my first foot pedal to be sustain, or do I want it to move registrations, or do I want it to trigger chord looper, or do something with a style? It's all been so well thought out. So in this case, I've got my sustain triggered on, in fact I haven't now, there we go, I've got sustain on my first foot switch, and then on my second I've chosen volume. So now that is set if I go back to the main keyboard and play, I can turn the volume up and down with my foot switch, with my foot pedal. And I've got a Roland, no I haven't, bloody hell. I've got a Yamaha FC7 plugged into this keyboard. Oh dear, that's a slip. No, I'm getting rid of the Roland, but that's a different story. There we go. So this is a FC7 controlling the keyboard. I can adjust the volume and I can adjust the style and everything with it. It's just a killer instrument, and that's a style called Sky Pop. Going through, we've got things like reggaeton pop. Yeah, that sort of ilk. We've got Canadian pop. And one of the things you will notice with this series of keyboards, SX and Genos, is that the OTS is 1000% better than they ever used to be on the Tyros models. They're still not 100% to my liking, but they are better than they used to be. The pianos are very dry, unfortunately. And then we've got another OTS. It's got an organ section that you can change, so you've got things like classical organ, you've got rotary organ, you've got Euro organ. It's got all the stuff, well, all of the stuff, most of the stuff from the Genos. Genos obviously is the flagship, so it's got everything you could imagine. The SX, they've had to cut down, obviously, from their price point. But however, I have noticed if I actually create styles in a Genos using voices that are missing in the SX900, when I actually load the style into the SX900, those voices appear. Well, they don't appear, it doesn't tell you the name, but it plays the voice, plays a voice. So really, if you do have maybe friends who've got Genos and you want to share styles, you don't have to worry about this idea that it's going to miss parts if there's no voices missing, because it just substitutes, replaces, changes, or even copies. It's a yeah. I mean, I've started the review off really with the end of the review, because it's just such a super bloody keyboard. It really is. There's nothing to touch it. I wish there was. I really do. And it's like the competition has just given up. I don't understand what's happening. I mean, I know we've had coronavirus and we've had economy problems and manufacturing problems. But it's just like all the competition has just died and disappeared. What's happened? You know, I don't know. I really don't know. But from a player's point of view, there's nothing in here that you would be offended by or upset by, or even into the other instruments that I've got, where you start playing and all of a sudden it just stops working. Yamaha is bulletproof, and I keep saying this from day dot. But anyway, let's just go and have a look into some of the styles, because you don't want to have me rambling on all day. I'll do it all. So let's listen to Soul Supreme and see what that starts with. Intro 3. Okay, let's try this. is my bugbear with Yamaha styles. I don't understand, I keep saying this in many videos, but this ending one has this necessity to be full 4 beats. Why can't it just go bump and stop? It sounds, it's what makes styles sound old-fashioned. It shouldn't drag out for. It's like, ta-da! Somebody's still reading the music and learning from scratch. Not everybody's a beginner, and certainly if you've got an SX900, the chances are you're not going to be a beginner, because you will be a musician who knows what to do. At least that's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Right, let's have go into ballroom, and we've got something called Final Waltz. Now come on, you know what this is for. Last Waltz. OTS 2. Nice saxophone. Ending 3. Yeah. Again, listen to that voice. It's just super, and this isn't the top of the range. I've said this in previous videos. I wanted to come back to the SX900 because when I got it, it was like, woo, this is just really a phenomenal product. And even all this time on, it still has that slot. It really does. You've got these live controls, which you don't. I mean, obviously you've got controls on the Genos. You've got dials which you can control, but there are 2 on here that you can actually use to do things like filter and reverb. Now, there's a keyboard manufacturer that's just recently launched a keyboard, and this is like a revelation. Oh my God, we've put a reverb control on the instrument over here, look, and you can adjust it manually. Well, it's been out for donkeys. The thing I think people need to get their heads around is that technology has got to the state now where there's not a lot more that you can do, and I say that now thinking, maybe wait till see what Genos 2 comes up with. But it has got to the stage where every keyboard is becoming the same. And one of my gripes, and this is kind of in favour of Korg, this goes definitely into Korg's benefits, is that because instruments are all sample-based, it's going to sound the same as another. The piano, unless you're sampling, I don't know, some spectacular grand that in stereo quadrist, I don't know, in a way that sounds phenomenally different, it's just going to be another piano. Strings, they're going to be another strings. And the only difference you're going to have is whether somebody chose to sample a good voice or a bad voice. Because, I mean, like shadow guitars, there's various versions of shadow guitar on here, on the Catron, on the Korg, on the Verzi, I mean, even things like Roland arrangers have got similar voices. So it's not anything groundbreaking where you sit and you go, my God, this is a sound I've never heard before, because nobody seems to doing that. The only instruments you're going to have that sort of flexibility on is a synthesizer, and this is why I say this is the benefit of Korg. Their PA5X, which again is relatively inexpensive compared to many other professional top of the range instruments, has the ability to create proper synthesizer based voices. None of these do. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a completely different category, completely different type of instrument, and unfortunately the 5X is an absolute pig to work. The way you find effects and the way you do things on that is my idea of hell. It's the only instrument I've ever played and got annoyed with, truly angry, and sort of sat there thinking, why have they done this? Yamaha don't do that. You sit and you sort of think, okay, I want to add some reverb. Let's go to my effects. Bump. It'll do it. It's not this whole process of going from one menu to another and then having to flick through a list of 200 different names of things that all sound very familiar. It doesn't do that. Yamaha have made their menu system logical. I just wished that there was a more greater way of making voices other than just using samples that are in the instrument. I don't know whether sort of a merge between a montage and a keyboard that's an arranger is viable. I don't know whether they have the market. I don't know whether they've got the technical skill. I don't know. Who knows? But it's the only thing that is getting boring in the keyboard world is this addiction to using samples. It's become, I say it is an addiction. Every company's doing it. And there's very little way to manipulate or edit a sample-based voice, because there isn't. It's not using a tone, whereas like the montage uses FM and all its other synthesis to build voices, and that means you can get creative making sounds. You can't do that with a sample-based instrument. So arrangers are becoming limited in terms of the voices that they give you. So again, this expansion pack idea with the Yamaha range is very useful, but unfortunately it doesn't give you a massive storage space on the sort of lower end instruments. It only gives you 1 gig on the SX900, so you've got a limited space to add some voices. Not so that you need particularly to add too many, and of course if I go into, say, like for example the bright section, bright brass, and I go through the menu option, there is a legacy folder. I don't know if many of you know about this. So let me just come back to the main menu. So if I tap where it says Bright Trumpet, you can see all the options down the left hand side. However, if I press the little down arrow in the bottom right hand corner and then go to page 2, there's a section called Legacy. And these are the older voices that I mentioned in previous videos, where if you've got a Tyros, this is where the sounds will go, or the previous sort of incarnation of an instrument. Let me just cocktail piano. Again, one of the older sounds, MIDI grand. There are some really nice voices, but the smoother strings, which is the downfall with Yamaha big time. If you go into the string section, that's right, I was just looking there, the strings, you've got sort of things like slow strings, which are much smoother than these sort of Seattle. Symphonica's a nice voice. You got things like orchestral tutti. So you can get different voices depending on the velocity that you play the instrument with. Or maybe not. You used to do. No, they haven't done it on here. On the old Tyros, it used to be a case of the harder you hit with the left hand, it would go crash. But it doesn't seem to want to. I don't want to play too hard, although I might snap a key off. But there you go. So there's a whole section of different voices in Legacy. So my point here is, if you've got the SX900 and you're thinking, well, I could do with some more voices, there's all your Legacy stuff from the previous models. If you have got a Tyros, and I'm pushing this like crazy because Tyros is dead and buried. It's gone. It's history. It's 10-year-old history. In fact, 10-year-old today, the 11th of November 2013, Tyros 5 was launched. And don't get me wrong, it was a super product, a super heavy product, weighed a bloody ton. But it was a super product, it really was. But it's 10 years old. It's had its use. The sound is sounding muffled and old. I've got friends who've had them where the screens have started to dim and eventually gone. And you've got something like this where you've now got touchscreen technology. You've got the ability to send video out over USB. You've got all these ultra modern, really nice styles, all sounding very fresh. I mean, let's have a flick. As I say, I'm sort of rambling on, but I do want to try and get the point across that sometimes you just have to acknowledge that a keyboard is dead and buried, and you need to look at moving on. And let's face it. If you've got a local music store, it's going to be closed. If you don't buy a keyboard every 10 years, there's no point in being there. So you've got to try and also support the industry, because from a wanting to upgrade, if you don't, that's it. It's going to be gone. So it's like everything in customer service wise. If you don't use it, they're going to take it away. It's like banks. Banks have started closing banks. It annoys the bloody hell out of me because there's no service anymore. So you've got to carry on thinking that I have to sort of commit to keeping the industry alive, and once again, every now and again, just actually buy a new product. Update your keyboard. Irish Ballad. Now that's an OTS. I don't like that. I think that sounds as wishy-washy as you can get. So let's go into the guitar section and have a look for a nice. In fact, one of my default voices is the shadow guitar. However, I'm going to have a look at and you've got these lovely articulations on the guitar voices. So again, put the style. Now, one of my other little bugbears, and this is just me, this is me being weird, I came from an organ playing background, and when you're playing the chords, I want to hear the bass line moving down. However, because it's on a fingered mode that's just normal sort of factory, it's probably on fingered mode. Let's have a look. Do you see what it's actually set at? Split and fingering. It's on AI. Okay, so that's not a problem. That's not too bad. But if you go to the fingered on bass, it means whatever note you play lowest on your keys will be the bass line that you hear. So in this case, where I want the bass to go down, now it will do it. If I move my little finger down, E, D, G, it's going to go up to C, C, B, A, and using fingered on bass, or in some instruments it's called finger to lowest or lowest bass, it allows you to do that. It's a really nice touch, and again, this is a cheap well, not cheap. It's the mid-ranged entry-level sort of ranges sort of Yamaha. So to have that feature in here is just outstanding. I really don't know what more I can say, because this instrument has become the second go-to. I mean, if I didn't want to take my Genos out, for example, and I needed to go and entertain, I'd have no qualms in just picking this up and taking it with me, because it's playable out of the box. It's one of those few instruments. I mean, I showed you the video of the Ketron. My God in heaven. That should come with a gallon of petrol. It really should. If you're going to start that out of the box, be prepared for what I would only call... I'm just trying to think of a word. I can't even come up with a word. It's a nightmare. It really is. There's so many things that you need to go in and tweak and change just to get it working. This out of the box, there's only one thing I'm going to tell you guys that I would do. So when you've got it, you would turn the keyboard on, and this is so simple. Press Mixer EQ, go to your EQ setting on the screen, okay, and then you will see this option where you've got EQ Master. You've got a little drop box there. You've got lots of things, so you can have it with subwoofer, bright, mellow, powerful. I like the bright. I always have. I like the sort of bright tone. I like a higher bright EQ. Let me show you the difference. Go to flat, which is what it will probably come with. Go to bright. Come on, what's not to like about that? And that is just using the steel acoustic pick sample. Just full keyboard, turn the accompaniment off, and the whole instrument is a guitar. And even the little note off sounds. It's phenomenal. So that's the guitar. The guitar section on any of these Yamaha instruments is just A1. I'm just the only area on the Genos that lets me, and the SX900 obviously within follow, is the strings and the choirs. The choirs just sounds like they're off another keyboard. They sound dated. They sound very, I mean, listen to this. I mean, okay, we've got these jazz scat things. How often are you going to use that in reality? I mean, that just... No, thank you. Not interested in that in the slightest. And then you got things like the Boys R's. Yeah, I've heard better. I noticed they've put, obviously, the choir and pad together. So you've got sort of synthy pad sounds and Miami strings. Pop strings. Pop ballad. some nice sounds. But the choirs, I'd love to see a really nice big sort of orchestral sort of symphony choir. You know, the sort of thing you get where there's a mix between a rock group and an orchestra, and the choir's all sort of in the background, and it's just, you know, that's my sort of thing. I love that sort of music. The gospel I use a lot in styles, mainly for backing. And don't forget, this thing has got the same engine as in the Genos to create styles. So you can very easily use the style engine in here to build one from scratch, to edit a style that you want to change. Even if it's a case of adding a don't know, a cymbal or a crash drum or whatever, you can do it just using the onboard style machine. There isn't a MIDI. Now, this is another thing that hacks the hell out of me. When you see comments like, it doesn't have a MIDI to style converter. Have you ever used one of those things? Seriously? They're crap. The quality of the output at the end of the MIDI style conversion is utter tripe. You cannot use them. And anybody that does, you sound like a car crash. Please stop doing it. Please stop doing it. The Korg had it. I tried it with, God, so many styles. It just utterly horrendous. They don't come out sounding like proper styles. The fill it, however it calculates a fill in, no. So don't go down the avenue of trying to use that one as an excuse. I notice in the keyboard world, and I'm being honest here, this is my observation of life, if you call it, people will copy people. So somebody puts something like, well, it doesn't have a MIDI style converter. Okay, fair enough. Then 2 minutes later, somebody else say it doesn't have a MIDI style converter. And it's like a group of sheep in the corner of a field all gathering together and they're going, it doesn't have a MIDI style converter. Who gives a... Yeah, it doesn't work very well. And that's one of the reasons why these companies that are good at what they do don't include a MIDI style converter. Because do you really want to make your keyboard sound like a bag of nails? No. You don't. So you don't put that on there so that somebody says, oh, how did you make that horrendous style? Oh, I made it with my lovely SX900. It's great at producing crap. No, don't add it. Don't add it. You go into the style creator and you make your own, and you get some phenomenally great results from this thing. I honestly kid you not. I think in a couple of my previous videos I've got a demo of just having a go at making styles with it. It's not too complicated. The only thing you need to get your head around is things like NTT and how it calculates the intros and endings, and you can just turn those off for intros and endings, so as it plays exactly what you put in but just transposes it into a different key. So basically what I'm saying is stop being an idiot. If you're posting stuff on here and you're trying to be negative, or you're saying, well, it doesn't, again, I posted videos a couple of days ago and people said, oh, you're not compared the Roland EA7. I've never played a Roland EA7. I've got no interest in a Roland EA7. Roland stopped making good keyboards when it stopped at the G800, which I used to have and loved and worshipped, and then they bought out the G1000 with that zip drive monstrosity on it, and it just sort of seemed to go down bank from there. Nothing ever came out of Roland that had a mellow tone. I mean, the rhythm unit sounded like somebody throwing a bag of spanners down the staircase. I don't want to play that sort of thing. I'm looking at products that are good, and I will happily sit and say this is a good product, and this is a good product. The SX900 is a serious purchase if you're a musician or you're looking to buy a serious instrument for your grandchildren to learn. And again, that to me is just more important than anything else, because we need to get younger players playing. And if you're going to buy a crap keyboard, it's going to put them off. It really is. You know, you should never start a child off with the worst instrument in the world, because they're just going to not enjoy it. I would prefer it if, say, for example, gran or granddad or mum and dad bought one of these and then let the child play their instrument, than having something of their own that's going to drive them away, because it's got that sound that you want to sit and play. And buying cheap plasticky tripe is not the way to educate a child. Anyway, I'm deviating. I'm having a rant day today. That's what happens when it's a Saturday. But I did want to show you the SX900 again, because even now with the Genos 2 on the horizon, this is still a super keyboard. The only question you ask yourself, do I buy this or do I go the extra money and get a second-hand Genos original for Mark 1? Because again, like I said to you, they are knocking around at a brilliant price, and a price that you really can't ignore. If you've got a keyboard to trade in, it's going to be even cheaper. So, you know, have a look. But would I buy an SX900 now, today? And we're talking the 11th of November 2023, and the answer is definitely. I would buy this without a blink. I like the idea of having something new that's mine and not been played by somebody else. However, if I do know somebody who has got a Genos and I know them and it's been looked after and loved, that would probably be my first choice. So you've got these two instruments to choose from, but honestly, there's nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. So this is your choice. You've either got an SX or a Genos. And I'd be interested to see any comments below, and please don't be an absolute prat about it, if you're going to seriously consider one of these or a Genos. If you've got anything else and you want to prove that, oh, it's a shame it doesn't have the ability to play VSTs, well, who gives a flying fig? I'm not demonstrating something it doesn't do. I'm showing you what this keyboard is as it is. So please don't post any rubbish like that, because I'll just remove it immediately. But anybody who's got some common sense and is a serious musician and interested in looking at one of these, I really cannot recommend SX900 or Genos enough. I really can't. I mean, like I say, I've played all the other stuff, and yeah, there's nothing that can compete. Really, there isn't. So until my next video, I wish you fond farewell. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, because when the Genos and the Montage arrive, and they will be here soon, I would imagine, Montage is on order, I'll show you around that. I'm going to also show you around the Roland. Before I had a Roland Phantom 7. I like the keyboard, it's really nice, but it's the sound that, for me, isn't my cup of tea. It sounds too old. And this is my problem with Roland voicing. It's like they've not moved on for years. I don't know why they keep reincarnating the Jupiter and all the old instruments. I just don't get it. I really don't. So, anyway, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a very sort of quick, well, I say quick, it hasn't been quick at all, has it? It's been 50 minutes. But anyway, it's so easy. It just shows you it's so easy to get lost in this keyboard, because there is so much for you to do and play. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.